Hello, and I was about to say, and welcome back to the forest garden, but this is the one day of the week that I temporarily leave my own agroforestry project and come and help at a different one, Sharon's food forest. Sharon, after coming on a tour of my place a couple of years ago, decided to create her own agroforestry project. It's about 18 months old now. I last made a video here in April, so you can watch that if you want to see the progression. It is now mid-August. I'm supposed to be working, but Sharon's given me permission to have a 10-minute break, and I gotta go and find the lady herself and have a chat with her. We're high on the Mendip plateau here. My place is on the dark north side of the Mendip hills over there. This meadow has just been cut. The air smells really sweetly of fresh cut grass. I smell quite citrusy, like lemons, but also wood smoke and machine oil, which is my natural scent, it seems. Enter the forest. Unlike my site, where I started with an open grass pasture and very little else, there were already a few mature trees here, a few ashes and oaks and hazelnuts. But thanks to Sharon and myself and other help, this has all been planted up in the last year. And let's find Sharon herself to talk a little more about it. There she is. Hello. Right, I'm going to turn the camera on ourselves so we can see the two of us. Oh, that'll do. Hello.
Hello.
This is the first time you've appeared on video, isn't it?
It is, and it's just such a lovely time of year to be walking around and looking at what there is to harvest now in the food forest.
And what is there to harvest in the food forest?
Well, we could come here and look.
Yeah, let's have a walk around. I'll let you go first.
Okay, I've just been out this morning. I'm surprised having not been here for a week because I've been away on a fantastic wellness retreat. I now find that there's lots of blackberries ready to harvest.
Blackberries! Oh, the flies have found them too, and the wasps.
Yes.
Yeah.
They'll need a wash before we use them.
That's one reason not to cut the brambles so soon then.
Yes. And when we first moved here, this was really covered in brambles. You couldn't get in past the gate. But we've been working gradually to introduce the food forest with yourself, obviously, Rob, and we've kept some patch of brambles, but we had to get rid of some, otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do any of the additional work here. So we've still got lovely patches that will give us as many blackberries as we need.
Okay, what else is going on today?
Okay, let's have a look down here. Now down here, I think around the corner we've got some elderberries. Now there are a lot of hazels, but hazelnuts, I'm not sure what we'll see on this tree. Let's just take a look, because we have to be very careful with the hazelnuts. I've never had one yet, because the squirrels come and get them.
Ah, yes, the squirrels.
Can't see any here, but I think the tree at the top actually is laden with them. Or maybe there's some there, but I think there's some.
Yeah, there are loads of hazelnuts at my place this year, but once again, the squirrels have very kindly done the harvesting for me.
Yeah.
But the way, yeah.
Yeah, let's just
It's a
say
little...
I've got one. So I think the squirrels will enjoy this rather than me.
Well, I find squirrels are quite systematic in their harvesting. If you keep an eye on the hazelnuts every day, the moment the squirrels start to pick them, then you've got about a 12-hour window to pick them all before the squirrels do.
Yeah, so that's it. I'll put that on my to-do list. Oh, lots more up there actually. You've just got to look carefully, haven't you? And yeah, I can see lots now that I'm looking up more into the canopy. I need to look at it with a squirrel's eye.
A squirrel's eye view.
Squirrel's eye view of the nuts.
Look at these beautifully mown grass paths this morning. Everything else really comes together once you start to carve a pathway through. Like the wild areas look intentional then. I always say it's like framing a picture.
Yes, and that's very much what you've done here, isn't it? To sort of help take it from being something that was just forest into building structure into it. With the early planting that we did earlier this year, mowing the grass, taking additional cuttings, and really sort of working with what's here. And this is something else we should note with our harvest. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet, but here's our
elderberries.
They're coming along beautifully. Look at that. And this was all here when I moved here, although we couldn't find it initially, but it was all here waiting to be uncovered.
And do you think you're going to make any syrup this year?
Syrup could be on the list. So I've made jam before, I've made wine before. I'm thinking a bit less sugar is good for all of us, so maybe syrup with all its wonderful vitamins and things that you have in small quantities. That will be the thing. It's certainly nice to make use of them, but of course the birds love them as well. So, and I guess the concept with the food forest is it's some for wildlife, some for us, some for friends, family, and whoever else we can share with.
Shall we go to the orchardy section?
Let's go there
and see what we can find. And maybe whilst we're walking and talking, you could tell me what actually was your idea of planting this in the first place. And what was your, what did you want to get from it?
Well, when we bought the property, which has the house and this sort of 1 acre forest plot, I didn't really know. So it was one of those things I had to spend a little bit of time looking at it, thinking before it jumped out that actually this is perfect for a food forest, because 20 years ago approximately this was pine. And
do you want to interrupt you? I just saw some apples. Apples to grundle.
Apples. Should we see the apples and then I'll carry on with the story? So these apples, this tree has been here since I came. It's a cooking apple essentially. So this is a rather nice cooking apple. I don't know anything about the varieties. It's a very old tree. I'd say actually it's probably just been here 20 years or so. You can see a wasp enjoying one over there. That's always a challenge. Not putting your hands on the wasps.
And it's interesting, once you start actually looking, there are all sorts of other things. Like in here, there are some hawthorn berries, fantastic for your circulation and your veins.
Brilliant.
And then beyond, the bright red rowan berries on that tree up there.
Lovely. What can you do with rowan berries?
Well, you can make rowan jelly, but I use rowan berries as a bit of a sacrificial crop, and I let the birds strip the rowan tree of their berries, and then ideally, well, in an ideal world, it doesn't always work out, they'll leave your other things alone, like they fruit the same time as a lot of varieties of raspberries, so they help themselves, they gorge themselves on the rowan berries and leave the raspberries alone that are usually hidden in the overgrown grass. So yeah, wildlife trees really. And when I asked you what you wanted to get from it, that was probably phrased incorrectly, because it's about giving as well, isn't it? It's not just what you want to get from it.
Yeah, exactly. So 20 years ago it was pine forest. It had been knocked down by the previous owners, or the pine forest removed and planted with native trees. So I've had a tree survey done here, and there's a huge variety of native trees here which have given us the structure. The hedges are already here. So again, the idea of food forest sort of slowly became what it should be, because we've got so much here already that helps us with that. So we've had the property 3 years. First year and a half has been all about clearing the brambles, but now it's been more about planting this year, which you've been so helpful with. Yeah,
not for free, mind you. Although I would work here for free if I could afford to.
It's a circularity, isn't it? I think very much. I'm semi-retired, and my working is also to support the work I want to do here. So what I earn, I can spend here.
It's a good word for it, circularity. Yes.
It's all about circularity, isn't it? And sustainability.
And this is quite an open, sunny site, which is really what food forests are like in terms of structure. Lots of people think forest and they think sort of a dark, closed canopy, but really the food forest is quite different. So it's somewhere between a mature orchard and a very like young woodland. So there's lots of light coming down through the canopy, and this is a perfect representation of that. If I put the camera around, and there's all sorts growing in this sunny glade here. Some things that we've planted and some things that we haven't. Do you want to show us around here?
Yes, so this is an area that we've planted. So we've got a lot of currants in here. So currants grow quite nicely here. It's been a challenge with the water over the dry period, but the rest of summer with the wet has actually been fortunate, in terms, not to everybody but to me, because it's helped with establishing all these young trees. So we've got here a pear tree. Not terribly happy at the moment, but hopefully it settles down. In here we've got a bed that Rob, you kindly put together. So all different sorts of mints in here. We're just trying to control the weeds with a bit of membrane, and then what we've got is in the garden we've got a lot of these wild strawberries, which are rather lovely, very small sweet fruits from these. I've got loads in the garden, so we're just trying to fill the patches with the wild strawberries so that we get ground cover without the more invasive weeds that we don't want. So again, working with this as a system that's going to be self-sustained. Maybe some extra herbs in here, wild strawberries, and then the trees around the outside. So the plum tree, I think I had one plum off that this year. Oh look, let's look. one to look forward to.
Yes.
There's another plum in there. So it's early. These trees have just been planted this year. And this was your lovely idea, Rob, about putting high labels in here. Labels so that we remember what's here, and having them high, because when the grass grows up, it can be hard to find things. So that was a great idea.
That's right.
Rob,
The T-shaped black labels, cable tied to bamboo canes, written on with a liquid chalk pen. That does last quite a while, although I can see the rain is starting to affect that one.
Yeah, I've got a better one. There's a dog here. It's not my dog.
A dog?
Yes. Unless it's a small wild boar. I don't know. That's a mystery dog. So
Mystery dog. Oh, I see him.
Yeah.
Or her.
Yeah. So,
Oh.
I don't know much about that dog. I shall inquire. It belongs to someone else, but we'll find a home.
Thought it was a muntjac deer to start with.
Yeah. Well, that's the first time I've seen another dog in here, so word must be getting around that it's an interesting place to hunt things. And my dog comes in here, loves to run around and have a look, and hopefully all the dogs are trained not to chase anything. But there's lots of interesting smells. Worth looking at. Honestly, it's an Egmont russet,
Egmont russet.
Lots of for a young tree planted this year. I think that's doing really well. So one of the things I need to learn is how to store apples, because I'm going to have lots of different apples. And there, do you want to talk about that lovely
the one that I introduced?
One that you introduced.
We certainly can, but a note on storing apples. I mean, I'm not the expert, but I grow a variety of apples, some to eat straight from the tree, or some are better for juice, like the Katie apples, and some, like the Cornish aromatic, they fruit quite late in October, and they store really well if you don't allow them to touch, and you can be eating Cornish aromatics right through till March if you store them correctly. So again, it's about variety. And also there are lots of different preservation methods. I mean, sometimes I cut them into strips and make fruit leather and dry them, or just stewed apple in the freezer. If I had enough electric for a freezer, which because of my off-grid lifestyle I do not at the moment. But yes, storing apples, storing fruit, it's a wonderful thing to do. But I'll flip the camera around again.
I've just been dehydrating fruits recently, and just to learn how to do it in preparation for all the things that are going to be coming off of here. So
you have a dehydrator, do you?
Well, I've got one of those Ninja 15-in-1 things, which you find if it's 15 in one, you don't necessarily do 15 things very well. But certainly for dehydrating, it's been really useful amongst a lot of other things.
Oh, that's a separate video in itself. That's a fascinating subject. We can only include so much in this one. It's 12 minutes already. Let's try and keep it to 15.
Yeah.
This was a Helianthus maximiliani. This is a perennial sunflower, and it's a really good example of a permaculture plant because it fulfills multiple purposes. To start with, every part of it is edible. You can eat the roots, you can steam the stems, you can put the leaves in salad, you can eat the petals. When there are seeds, you can eat those too, but I usually leave them for the birds because they're so fine and dust-like that they're not really worth bothering with. And being part of the Helianthus family, they are related to Jerusalem artichokes, which are Helianthus tuberosus, and the roots are very much, well, they are effectively artichokes, but just not the crossbred variety bred for their size. They're a bit fiddly, but the thing is, once you've planted these, they spread by themselves, and you don't have to do anything to them, so they're ideal for a food forest like this. And I'm sure there's more to say about them, but I shall keep quiet for a minute. We'll go back to Sharon and see if you have anything else to show us or last things to say before we wrap it up.
Could we quickly look at the potatoes?
Potatoes, of course. I mean, people treat potatoes as annuals, but I would class them as a replant perennial, really. But again, the emphasis on food forests is perennials, but it doesn't mean you can't mix in patches of annuals, because they do thrive with the shelter from the trees.
And this has been amazing because I was too late to buy potatoes this year, so there was a couple that were going off and sprouting in the kitchen. I brought them out to Rob one day and said, Rob, do you think we'll get anywhere if we plant these? And we did, and the plants are just about dying off now, but that means it's harvest time, doesn't it?
Yeah, so they flowered about 2 weeks ago, and you're supposed to dig up potatoes about 2 weeks after they flower, so now is the time.
Yeah.
But will there be time today? I'm not sure.
Oh no, it's this nice soft soil. It's not really soil, is it? It's the wood chip and the compost, so this will be very easy to dig anyway, so
yeah,
there will be time on a nice sunny day like today.
This is my gardening superpower, using wood chip to mulch everything, because not only does it protect it and stop the weeds from growing around things, but it locks the moisture into the soil, and actually after a few months it becomes soil itself, so it builds the soil. And a food forest like this one will eventually, as the leaves and dead branches fall, it will create its own wood chip and build up the soil over the years. But this just gives it a kick start, getting this delivered. And it's quite cheap or free, isn't it?
This fortunately I got delivered free, and I'm going to have some other trees trimmed here because they're interfering with the power lines, and that's going to give me more free wood chip. So that's going to be very useful.
Oh, and rhubarb. I've just noticed the rhubarb.
Yep.
Again, it tolerates sun, it grows in the shade, it's a wonderful perennial, and it looks like it's just about harvest time.
Yeah, so various friends of mine have been asking me about the rhubarb, so I do need to get out and pick some of it for them.
Well, thank you very much. I think that we'll leave it there for now, and I need to get back to work because I'm being paid to do that. We've got some brambles to trim off or cut out, some strawberries to transplant from the domestic garden into the edible food forest here. And what else are we doing this morning? There's something else, a few other things. Well, we'll do what we can in the time that we've got.
Moving the rogue raspberries that have
rogue raspberries
up in the garden.
That's right, always rogue raspberries. Okay, thank you very much for watching. We shall return to Sharon's agroforestry project a little later in the year, see what's going on. But bye for now, and a beautiful August to you all. Bye.
Bye.